2023 to order. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
John, mute yourself. Then you unmute it.
Diane Kent's be quiet, man. Roll call, please.
Mr. Carnahan. Mr. Foreman.
He's here.
Him and all his friends are here.
He's on Zoom.
He's in the pub.
Ms. Sethauer.
Present.
Mr. Sharp.
Here.
Mr. Parker. Mr. Pecora.
Present.
Mr. Oliphant.
Here.
Mr. Austin.
Present.
Mr. Salata.
Present.
Ms. Abernathy. Present. Ms. Hyduk is present.
Okay, work session, we have a quorum here, we have John on the phone, right? John, are you there?
Gotta be unmuted.
Oh, now he's quiet.
Muted now. He is there.
Yes, I'm here, gentlemen, but my signal isn't very strong, so I don't know how long I'll make it.
Good. Ladies and gentlemen. All right. Old business, number one, Harvest Creek, formerly Silver Meadows, permanently plat for a 98 lot subdivision and rezone. Owner petitioner Diamond Peak Group LLC, 1313 White Hawk Drive, Crown Point, Indiana. Vicinity of 9210 West 155th Avenue, Cedar Lake. Petitioner is requesting preliminary plat for a 98 lot subdivision and rezone from agricultural to PUD.
Good evening. My name is Michael Herbers with Diamond Peak. Again, here to speak on Harvest Creek, our 98 lot subdivision. Just a few quick updates. I know we've been in front with multiple updates over the last couple months, but I think we are in that final home run stretch for everything. In regards to legal, I know our attorney has been in touch with attorney Dave Austin regarding some final critiquing of all the PUD guidelines, the covenants, all the developer agreements and things of that nature. So if he wishes to speak on that, I will, defer to him on that. But I did speak with our attorney today, and he did say that they've been in touch and they are in that, final review process of everything he would like to see. Shifting over to the engineering side of things, I know we are in our third round of review comments, I believe, plus or minus, fourth, fifth, whatever it may be. I do know DBG had submitted some further review this week as well, which I'm assuming that Don has not had a chance to check those out yet. But I am confident, again, not being an engineer, but from what I've been told, it's kind of some minute stuff kind of being hashed out and ironed out. And I know that I did speak with Mr. Salatis regarding street names, so I know we're in touch with police and fire to ensure that we do name these streets properly moving forward. So, that's kind of an update on our end. We do plan on being here on the 15th for the public hearing for our favorable recommendation for the approval. And if you guys have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them to the best of my ability.
Okay, we have any comments? Don, anything?
We're getting there. We just looked at the PUD stuff, so we just issued a revised letter on the 31st. So yeah, Mike's right. They resubmitted engineering a couple days ago. We'll look at that again, but we're on the right path.
Good. Dave, do we have anything?
No, I think we're really in good shape. We're 98% of the way there. Any action considered by the Plan Commission at the public meeting following the continued public hearing would have my recommendation that it be subject to final completion of terms, fill in the blank space holders, things of that nature, because we couldn't fill those in until we knew we were this far along. But other than that, we're in good shape.
So we'll be in good shape in 2 weeks?
If you're in good shape now, you'd be in good shape in 2 weeks.
Okay, sounds good. Building department, anything?
The only thing, it was talked about briefly last month,
And it's still a continued comment on Don's letter would be if you guys accept the park land as it is and park equipment. That is going to remain a comment on his letter until the planning commission makes their decision on if they accept the fee in lieu of as park equipment.
And it sounds like everybody's pretty much in agreement on that. From the last meeting. I think so, John, yeah.
I would agree with that.
Thank you for supplying those pictures too. It looks really nice.
Yeah, so again, that's a rendering of what we've done on, two other developments of ours, but we'll probably take that and obviously change the color scheme and see if there's any new equipment out there that we can add to it,
Upscale it just a little bit.
exactly.
Yeah,
Yep,
no, it looks great. Thank you for supplying that to us.
yep, not a problem.
How many houses are you going to have in this first phase?
The first phase, we're actually pigeonholed to 30 lots. So that was our agreement with the town, with this development, so phase one would be 30 lots.
Okay, thank you.
Bob, there were 30 lots or 30 caps guaranteed by way of the agreement we made in the transactions of the swap.
Any other discussion?
No, looks good.
I'm good, John. See you 2 weeks.
Perfect, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Number 2, new business, Railside rezone preliminary plat. Owner Hen Holdings LLC, 10702 West 141st Avenue, Cedar Lake. Petitioner Vis Law, P.O. Box 980, Cedar Lake, Indiana. Vicinity of 10702 West 141st Avenue, Cedar Lake. Petitioner is requesting to rezone from agricultural to a planned unit development and a preliminary plat for a 29-lot subdivision. Hello, Mr. Vis.
Mr. Chairman, good to see everyone this evening. Passed out for your review. These are updated from what would have been sent out last week, Friday, red line.
I didn't get any of them, Nathan.
Hold on, Mr. Carnahan, I've got one more for you. There you are, sir.
Thank you.
Yep. So we've got some red line here. We've had really good dialogue with Mr. Austin as well as with the folks from Building Department, Town Administrator in regards to, I think we're honing in on a proposed PUD and development agreement. I'll just take you through some of the highlights, some things that have probably changed or morphed a little bit since the last time that we talked. Most significantly, if we turn our attention to the development agreement, page 2, one of the items that we had discussed the last time that we were here was the possibility of, when we do a turnover of the public infrastructure, of also turning over the 3 detention ponds over to the town for care and maintenance. We've had engineering review on that. We've had good dialogue with town officials on that. We've had dialogue with the town attorney on that. And just from a matter of public perception, public policy, et cetera, it's probably in everyone's best interest that those be maintained underneath the ownership of an association that'll be governed by covenants and then maintained by the lot owners that are out there. So a change that you're going to see in paragraph 7 there in the development agreement is that those public improvements, including the maintenance responsibilities underneath paragraph 8 for those 3 outlots, would be transferred over to an association for ongoing maintenance. Any questions on that, Mr. Chairman, or the board?
No,
Okay.
I like it.
Next item is underneath paragraph 9. Preliminarily, we had indicated that there would be no sidewalks within the development. That is accurate. However, we do understand the need to put a sidewalk along 141st, and that will be stubbed up against the railroad tracks and then to the end of the property as well. So we've made sure that we included in this development agreement that those sidewalks will be included. And the other tweak is going to be underneath 9C as in cat, again a reference to an association for maintenance of the outlots. And those are the substantial changes to the development agreement. Next, we can turn our attention to the PUD. We should have it numbered, page 7, underneath the definitions. So have to go by the paper copy, not the ones that are on your screen. We had to make an addition there to section 1.13, a reference to the fact that we will have an association governed by covenants that each lot owner is going to be a part of that are going to contribute equally towards those common areas. If we turn the page, again, on the bottom of paragraph 3, 3.1, D as in David, Again, we've got a red line there that references that the detention ponds will be owned and maintained by that association. Turning our attention next to the top of page 9, one of the items that we had dialogue with Dave about was just how do we clearly reference within the PUD as well as then on the final plat where the two different zones are, because we have a B3 zone and we have an M1 zone. We're going to have an attachment to this document that's going to reference what those lot numbers are going to be. The other item that we're going to also include in this, and we'll have this ready before our final presentation, is going to be a reference, the number of feet from the road to the edge of where that B3 zone ends and where the M1 zone commences. The other item that we're possibly anticipating is, say, for example, you have someone that purchases the B3 lot that's closest up against the M1 zone, and the question is, well, what if that owner wants to turn the lot next to it, which is an M1 zone, into a B3 zone? And I think we're all in agreement when we met with town officials yesterday that it would be okay then if people were to purchase lots conjoining each other, and that is an M1 zone, that they would also be able to use that M1 that's immediately adjacent to the B3 as a B3. But if you're an M1 purchaser, you can't come further south, so to speak, and extend the M1 to the south into an existing B3 zone. So B3 can push north, so to speak, but M1 cannot push south.
Can I ask you a question regarding that?
Yes, ma'am.
So if the M1 becomes a B3, because it's the neighbor of a B3, is that forever, or is that until?
No.
Hearing a no. No, it would be for that owner.
Got it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. But technically speaking, a lot of the uses that are found in M1 can encapsulate a B3 use.
Got it.
Yep. Good question. Next, we can turn our attention to page 12. There's a uniqueness to this particular development due to the fact that it is adjacent to railroad, it's adjacent to some residential, it's adjacent to some residential that's from the county, and it's adjacent to another PUD that has also commercial use. So some of the setbacks are trying to be specific on to maximize the possible use for a person that's going to purchase a lot. So if we envision, and I should have brought a map, but I didn't, but we have a center line of road that runs all the way up the center of all these lots, okay? One of the questions that was raised when we met with town officials is when you put in a parking lot in any of these lots, typically you find that parking lot in the front of the building closest to the road. And the question was, how close to the road can we build? Running up along the left-hand side, if we were running north on that proposed road, the easement for public utilities is going to be about 20 feet on that side. Then if we step to the right side, which are the lots between the road and the railway, the utility easement is about 12 feet on that side. Town officials were in agreement with us as well as engineers that a person that owns a lot could start building their parking lot on the very edge of that easement that runs. So it might be 12 feet on the west side, or on the east side, and 20 feet on the west side. And what we figured is that that's a much easier line of demarcation rather than setting a 20-foot building setback. Instead, it allows folks an opportunity to go all the way up to the easement line. That makes sense. Okay. Looking at page 12, section 7A. So we've got two lots that are in a B3 zone that are immediately adjacent to 141st. What we propose there is that those parking lots can be built within 10 feet of the street right-of-way. And those two lots, 1 and 2, that are at the front entryway, technically have two fronts. They front on 141st and they front on the vertical street that goes in between them. Preliminarily, engineering has indicated that seems to be okay. Don had asked and raised a question about sight lines. So one of the items that we hope to have finalization on either within 2 weeks or for sure by March is going to be whether or not that proposed 10 feet makes sense from sight distance for a stop sign, or whether we have to push that back a little bit. Next is page 14. So we we've got, as I mentioned before, some of our lots are going to be adjacent to outlots, some are going to be adjacent to railway, and some are going to be adjacent to residential areas. At the very northern end of the development, you have a couple of commercial lots that are closer to residential areas. What we've proposed there is that there's going to be a 30-foot setback for building in those areas. But for the M1 lots that are adjacent to either B3 or to a pond outlot or next to railway, we've proposed that the building, if feasible, can be within 5 feet of those particular areas.
So lot 16, 17, and 18 are the ones that are near the residential?
On the very northern end, Bob,
Yeah,
those would be
that's
correct.
what it- yeah.
Yep. We want to be mindful of that space where they're close to it.
And these outlots, why are they so much different than the other lots?
The outlots, that's where there's a significant need for drainage throughout this particular acreage, and that's why they're so large, especially the one. 2 of them need to be connected along the railway, as we anticipate that there's going to be water traveling between. So I'm going to leave that discussion to folks much smarter than me. If you have additional questions, that'd be Jack.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, can I ask Nathan about the 5 feet for a second?
Sure.
5 feet seems awfully skinny, for an industrial, heavy business area.
Mhm.
Are we certain that there's enough, room, and we can't do this a little bit differently, a little more distant setback? I understand what and why, but we have to think about the practical here, in terms of our responsibilities and when you guys are gone and
Mhm.
what happens to this, development of these communities, this industrial business community.
So, a good question, Mr. Austin. What I was anticipating is for those M1 lots that are going to be adjacent to the railway, I think the goal would be to be able to allow either parking spaces or if they're going to have outdoor storage, et cetera, as close to the edge of that railway as possible to maximize space, but still allowing 5 feet where they could have a fence area, as well as then also requiring greenery that's put in that 5-foot area. So at that point, you then have the 100-foot buffer to the PUDs that are adjacent to it, the existing one that's there, and then my understanding there's going to be another PUD established there. So really what you're establishing is you've got your setback for building from the back, you then have green space, you then have 100 feet with the railway, and then I would anticipate, you probably have another 100 feet before you even get to buildings, so you're over 250 feet away from any activity for the residential zones that are beyond the railways.
Still seems skinny. I get it, but it still seems like we're shrinking this thing.
I think it's an effort on my client's part to maximize the space for folks.
Of course.
And, yeah, so there's the question of, can there be noise? What's probably gonna be louder, M1 use or trains use coming through?
Well,
it's
I mean,
difficult.
the train thing all by itself is another story.
Right. And we certainly can't stop that.
No, you can't.
Yep.
Are there any options, or is that it, in terms of the setback?
Well, I think the other thing to keep in mind too is, and Dave's concern is, are we pushing everything too close? The other thing to keep in mind is the fact that, and let me quick grab a map. Ashley, do they have a map on there?
Yes.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you look, the other item to keep in mind is going to be, Dave, I think this is helpful. When you take a look at lots 21 to the south, all the way to lot 27, by virtue of the topography that's there and the need for a swale to be between outlot A and outlot B, there's in essence, is it a 60-foot swale, Jack? There's a 60-foot swale on the backside of those lots already. So in essence, for lots 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, and 21, by virtue of the water flow between the outlots that are back there, they're already, in essence, the topography there is imposing a minimum 60-foot setback for those.
I guess I also think about, this is notwithstanding legality being met of having two access points, it's practically for discussion purposes a cul-de-sac. And the ease of access and moving emergency equipment and response and vehicles and the like around in that. And we keep squeezing more space into improvement. We have less room for those things. And it sounds to me also, Nathan, as though we would probably have to call these things out individually within the development agreement.
Specifically the lots?
Yeah. I mean, I know that the building department, when they get a permit, I'm sorry, I should shut up. When the building department gets a permit application, then they have some guidance on how each of these lots we're talking about specific, you know, this specific lots will be treated for issuance purposes, and then ultimately building. I don't know, anybody up there have any concerns or questions about that? Because this is the time, this is gonna start locking down into concrete here in the next couple of discussions and document draft exchanges, so.
Well, I agree with the safety factor involved there, you know, so you need to have the space.
When you say 5 feet, I'm looking at this,
15.
5 feet from the railway easement, or where the edge of the railway easement is?
Yeah, correct. So what I'm proposing is that they can put a parking lot up to, or open storage space up to 5 feet from the railway easement. Not a building.
Not a building.
No, not a building, no.
So you would have, even if it was a parking place or open storage, you still should have some area or enough space to get a emergency vehicle back there.
Correct, yeah. So 30 feet,
Well, parking is adjacent to the railroad, and you're trying to bring a vehicle in. Let's just use a fire truck, for example. A normal, regular fire truck, not a ladder or expandable. They're pulling in on this cul-de-sac and trying to get back in an emergency event, let's say. Because it is an industrial facility and heavy business. And they're going to try and circumvent the path they have been given by way of the plan to do this. Again, I'm not saying it isn't workable. I'm asking the question, has it been reviewed? Can we make it work? Or if not, what plan B or adjustments and tweaking and massaging gives us.
Well, you're saying there could be a problem for the truck swinging in?
Possibly, this is, again, the time to ask those questions and try and make certain we're all comfortable, planning-wise, so that development can occur the way it's proposed.
Well, maybe they need to figure out what the swing pattern is, how much area they need, and restrict parking, so the truck can swing in there. You know, maybe they need to knock off 3 spots, I don't know.
well, I think we're talking about two separate things. If we're now, Mr. Osh, implementing into each particular lot the ability for a fire truck to be able to swing around to the back side of it. I represent a fire department, and depending upon the size of the vehicle that you have, we've now diminished some of these lots to where you can only build in perhaps the middle 30 feet. I don't think that's what we want. I think your point is, do we have sufficient space on the side to maneuver, as well as if there's sufficient space in back? And it also raises the question, what sort of height can we have for the type of infrastructure and equipment that we have with our fire department?
Yeah, I don't remember, as I'm sitting here, it's probably in the documents, I don't remember the height.
Yeah.
Being addressed.
Yeah, height is, we did, I think it's 40 feet, I'd have to find it, but I believe 40 feet commensurate with what our code is.
I wasn't even thinking about that one.
I'm thinking of it, yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Rob.
You know, I'm thinking, you know, Mr. Osh, there could be, you know, these industrial lots, they could put they're allowed to put a fence up to that point.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're not gonna be able to swing a fire truck around the back of the building with a fence there. But the building, you know, like you said, we're just talking about the parking area and any outdoor storage, a dumpster corral, something of that nature. We're not talking about the building being that close, just the parking lot.
Correct. Storage, open storage area.
Storage, right.
Yeah.
Well,
5 feet.
Nathan, I think you're gonna run into the same problem you had with parking in the front. you have a 20-foot rear yard drainage utility easement. So that's likely gonna govern, that's all the way up to lot 19. It goes all the way down to lot 1. So,
And I recognize these are subject to any existing easements that.
yeah, so you're not gonna get that close just because of that. So,
I have a question here on Outlot B. It says exception of 8/21/2017, I think that is. And it's got like a baseball plate there with an L1, L2, L3, L4, and L5. What is that?
I'd love to say that Chris Salatas has visions of a ballpark there, and that's why he put it there, but it's not.
That's long before me.
I was curious what that was.
That, Mr. Carnahan, is remnants of most likely a family feud from several decades ago, where a certain person demanded that they have a remnant of their family history be forever preserved there. So that particular home plate is not owned by my client, it's owned by somebody else, and we have intentionally placed it there to allow those folks, if they'd like to, an easement from the roadway to commemorate their former barn homestead.
Okay. Also not annexed into the town of Cedar Lake.
Wow.
Okay. Moving along, page 15, Mr. Chairman, the update that we have there is, while originally we had posited no sidewalks within, we've clarified that to express that sidewalks shall be required per town code along 141st Avenue. And the last item,
So there's no sidewalks, only on the 141st?
only on 141st, correct. So due to the nature of this being a B3 M1 zone, I think it's my perspective that's not an area that we want to encourage pedestrian traffic through, recognizing the type of vehicles that are going to be coming through, type of traffic that's there, heavy traffic, not conducive to pedestrian walkway.
I don't know, it's not only for pedestrians, is there gonna be parking on the street?
Not anticipated,
That doesn't answer the question.
right? I mean, we could certainly work with the town to
Does
say,
the town allow parking, would the town allow parking on the street?
On 141st?
No, they're talking about in the interior of this project. We could certainly by ordinance, if it was the prerogative of the town council, restrict parking not on the street.
Well, my point being, or what I'm trying to say is that if there's parking allowed on the street, you need sidewalks.
I guess my question would be when the plan commission approved Lakeside or Lakeview Business Park, which does not have sidewalks, do we restrict parking on that street or not?
Well,
This is the policy question.
yeah, well, it's understood, what's
Yeah.
good here should be good there.
we typically restrict parking to one side based on our pavement width. So our pavement width is about 33 feet back to curb, which allows for 3-lane traffic, so parking one side, 2 through lanes. And I believe this is the same pavement section,
correct.
right? 33 or is it
Yeah,
36?
it matches Lakeview Business Park. So I think we actually went to 36 in there, so that we had room for truck traffic, because that was kind of the primary, we expanded the radiuses a little bit, so that trucks had a better way of getting around in there, and that accommodation, we didn't put sidewalks in Lakeview, and so this is a similar use. That's what's being proposed in this subdivision.
Okay.
What about a sidewalk consideration between the entrance to this community and the railroad? Town is working right now on communications with the railroad entity.
Yeah, we should certainly do a sidewalk, because eventually, we're gonna have to have a sidewalk on both sides of that.
So I guess I'm just suggesting that we're trying to find a way to make an at-grade crossing that's safe for families in the event that we have any residences in the future nearby.
I think it certainly makes sense, and I propose that we work with the town's engineer to say, what grade do you need for us to stub to, so that when ultimately we receive that authority from the railroad, which could be a couple of years from now, it's not like we're dealing with the dip there, and we've already built in what we anticipate is gonna be the right height to match it.
I would expect it to be just like 141st on the east side of Parish, which is what we did to the sidewalk there. We couldn't get it right up to the grade to the crossing, but we got it close, inspected, and Schilling built it. We've got to finish the job now.
Right. Right.
That's why I asked that question.
Yeah, no, I think it's certainly reasonable to build it to the point where it's gonna match it ultimately when you have the authority to connect it. Yeah.
Okay.
And then the last item, Mr. Chairman, is just at the very end, page 19, association, just added into the PUD the fact that we are going to have an association created with recorded covenants that's going to maintain those 3 stormwater outlots. So I anticipate, Mr. Chairman, what we'd like to do is, I do know that Jack and his team have gotten over to Don proposed finals for all the environmental review and all utilities, based upon questions that were raised back in December. I know Dave and I are going to continue to work together to hone in on these last couple red lines, and whatever questions were raised this evening, my folks are itching to put shovels in the ground, so I guess if there's any other concerns, please by all means communicate with us, but it's our goal to be back here in March at that study session with a proposed final, and we'd be tickled think if we could be ready for a public hearing at your March public meeting date.
Seems close enough for that, right, Dave?
Yeah, I think so. Nathan and I have shared that commonality. There is gonna need to be a review of the new documents, covenants, the storm drainage item, the protections to the town, vis-a-vis those storm drainage structures and the association. So we've got some work to do yet, but yeah, it can get advertised. March looks good.
Anybody got anything else with you?
We'll get there.
Drinks, energy drinks.
We got some home. Anybody got anything else? Good. See you in March.
Sounds like a plan, thanks.
You bet.
Thank you.
Number 2, Centennial Estates Phase 1 conversion of performance letter of credit to maintenance letter of credit.
Mr. Yatsko reached out to me, he could not be here tonight, so there's a correspondence email, to you guys, via meeting iPad. They are going to be requesting a conversion from the performance letter of credit to a maintenance letter of credit at your next meeting. The review letter from Mr. Oliphant is in your packet, as well with the amounts for the maintenance letter of $107,235.11.
Yeah, looks like everything's up to date over there, huh?
It's the first phase of Centennial Estates, so it is this guy. That block. It's on the southwest corner.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we'll be ready. Yeah, she said it will.
He told me I'll have it in hand before the next meeting.
Okay.
Okay, nothing else?
Nope.
Number 3, L&L Capital Assets LLC concept plan, owner petitioner L&L Capital Assets LLC, 11125 Delaware Parkway, Crown Point, Indiana, vicinity 13310 West 133rd Drive, Cedar Lake. Petitioner is requesting a concept plan for rezone from R1 to RT.
Hello,
Hi.
how you doing? Thank you, Brad Lambert, Eric Vandermuller, L&L Capital Assets. First of all, I want to apologize to the commission for missing the last meeting, where we were on the agenda. That was a an oversight on our part, and I was at a St. John's Plan Commission meeting, and Eric was at a church meeting, so anyway, we both blew it, so apologize for that, but thank you. I know you guys, last time we had been here, we had put before the commission a two-story quad unit to be built on the lot in Yonks Way, which is at 133rd Drive, behind what is currently now the Cedar Lake storage area. And some of the commissioners we're going to go and take a look, and I think they did. And I think the consensus was that due to the fact that that's an elevated lot, that a two-story structure on that would be overwhelming for the area in terms of the overall height and size of the structure. So we kind of went back to the drawing board, Eric and I did, about what we could put there. And again, what we're trying to do is, in going back to the story about how I ended up purchasing that lot, what Eric and I did after we had already put a foundation there for a single-family home that Mike was going to build there, but due to unfortunate circumstances, he was not able to complete the build and wasn't able to pay us for the concrete. So we took the lot kind of in lieu of concrete payment, but of course paid him for the full value of the lot. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to make something work on that lot that's good for that area, but also is able to get something done on that lot as far as residential goes that makes economic sense for us, of course, as well. And a single-family home on that lot, for us to build something that would be economically prosperous for that lot, it would have to be something that would be large enough that for a family to have a sizable residence there. And that lot is a large lot, of course, but anyway, run the numbers. Just income property is the best way to make that feasible on that property, which is why we're searching for a solution for an income property to be built there. The large single fourplex having 4 units there wasn't going to work out, so we are now going back to the drawing board and like to propose 2 duplexes to build on single-story duplexes. And but to do that, we're going to need a few things to be done. One of them would be, and this was as we kind of initially gave this to Ashley, she's like, well, you've got some issues that you need to address here based on ordinances and square footages for the actual RT zoning that we need to get on the property. And we would not have been able to meet those with the way that we, with these 2 structures on a single lot. So the first thing that we would need to do would be to request a re-subdivision, or to subdivide this into 2 separate lots. So we could have one structure on each lot. And then to make that feasible, that we would like to request a variance on the north side of the property for a reduction in that's actually a front yard setback, given that it's a corner lot, down to as we are drawn on the. Does everybody have this drawing?
They did not get the updated one, no.
Okay. All right. Well, this might be similar. Yeah. Essentially, we have the duplex floor plans overlaid onto the lot, show that that we could fit with a 20-foot side yard setback, and actually front yard setback on the north side there, and have 16 feet in between the properties. So we'd actually like to request a variance to 15 feet on both the north and south. So we could, actually make these duplex units a little bit bigger, and actually increase the size of the garages as well, to make them, more of an appealing, overall size for a family of possibly, 3 or 4 for a 3-bedroom home.
And the garages, making the garages a little bit bigger just brings it to code too, because some of the, per code, they want the garages a little bit larger, which makes sense, to make them more appealing and more usable, better usage.
What's the size of that lot,
It's over an acre.
0.57 acres.
What's the frontage on it?
Is it 27? That's what this is, yeah.
130 on 133rd Avenue, 136 on 133rd Drive.
Are you splitting it down the middle? Is that your proposal?
It'd be,
Little over half.
this way.
Yeah.
Right in between them. So the way we did it was, there's 20 feet on both sides, which the prior did get, an okay for the 20 feet, and then there'd be 16 in between, which is 8 and 8, which is all basically to code. The north, or the south side, 20, actually, I think it doesn't have to be a full 20, but we put a 20 on it.
Yeah, there's a 20 yard, that's a rear yard setback. There was actually, that was per developmental variance granted on July 9th of 2020. And again, ideally, we'd like to, if we can go 15, and
Gives us an
just
extra
ask that,
foot.
just so we could, we could pick up 5 feet and be able to, add 2.5 feet to the widths of each of these units, and therefore increase the size of the garages and,
So what would the garage be? It's 10 by 20 right now?
yes, sir.
And what is your anticipation of how big you're gonna make it?
It'd be 12 by 20, if we could
So
add
2
the
feet more.
5 feet, 2 feet more each, but then we probably would, which we don't need an okay for that, is we make them a little bit deeper too. Because 20 feet, some big trucks can't even fit in 20 feet.
Yeah,
So
that's
probably
what I'm
make
thinking
it-
about, there's so many people, with their big
Big
large
vehicles.
trucks. I mean, in a single car garage that's only 10 by 20, just leaves you no room for anything else, so.
So what would happen to the kitchen and the living room? Would that get,
So if we
Reduce-
move the front of it, that would, which isn't the width, but the living room would get a couple feet larger also. But the master bedroom on the back side, bedroom 1, would be a little bit larger too, because if you make the garage 2 feet, then that master becomes a little bit larger as well, which just makes it more attractive.
Is there gonna be income?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like the issue on this particular, and Dave, before I say that, let me ask you the question. How did we did a new zoning map with a zoning ordinance, correct?
We did.
And this lot didn't make RT on the zoning map, and was there other places in town that were RT?
Probably.
I guess, the problem you guys are having is you're trying to squeeze so much into this. I mean, the lot is the lot, and it's the size of the lot, and it was pretty much, the design was for a single-family home, which you guys started building over there, did the concrete work and that sort of thing. But you're basically doing the same thing you were doing before, except it's not two-story. You're trying to squeeze 4 units onto that lot. Why not just do 2 cottage homes? Why not do something that makes sense for the lot instead of trying to cram everything that you can in there?
Well,
Well, that's not, we don't drive income here. We try to drive what's best for
I get it.
the future of the community and good planning,
The neighborhood is it's a mixed-use neighborhood currently too. So even if we built, if we built a single family on it to sell it, it's gonna be tough. There's commercial across the street, there's a trailer park, it's mixed of a lot of different things. I think these are gonna be, we didn't pick the cheapest way to do it, we're gonna do these extremely nice in concrete everywhere. We're not doing asphalt, we're putting curbs, we're putting sidewalks.
I think what he's trying to say is historically, we're trying to get away from multi. even the duplex.
And I agree.
It's a hard pill for us to swallow to go from a single residential lot to a multi. We're trying to go the opposite way.
In my time serving here, the biggest problem that I see people have is deal with things that have been crammed into areas even 100 years ago. You know, somebody winds up with a 50 or 60 foot lot, then they want to do some sort of home improvement. They can't do that, they can't, I mean, it just becomes this giant snowball of things that they have to get a variance for, or get permission to do, because that's what they do on the front side of things. And it just, you're just making a mess for the future. I mean,
I don't really think we're jamming anything on it. I mean, it backs up to a railroad, it backs up.
That was part of the purpose of showing the floor plan that we had found on the lot, that showing that it would fit on there with the existing, with the 20-yard 20-foot setback on the north side, which would match the setback that's already been granted on the south side, and still have 16 feet in between the two.
Everything we've done was approved for the prior person. It has a huge front yard.
but if the prior person had the correct zoning, and he had an approved plan, and he had enough square footage to fit what he wanted to build on there without having to get a variance, a rezone and a variance.
Well, he did. He applied, I think, for a one-lot subdivision in order to get...
That was probably just to clean up the legal though, wasn't it?
It was meets and bounds, this is old Cedar Lake.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is me personally, I have a problem with recreating some of the things that we've had in the past. I know these subdivisions, the lots are small and they get built out, but this is, I mean, this is close to, like, this could be, I mean, in another 20 years, the value of this property and the perspective in this property might be completely different than an income property. You know, I don't know. I think just looking at it in the future, adding more stuff like this is not, I mean, that's the reason why the commission spent all the time on the zoning ordinance and the zoning map, right?
Correct, yeah.
Correct some things, not,
Well, if it's 130 by 136, that gives you 17,680 square feet there, and you want to make two lots out of it, you're going under.
It's actually 155, it's 155 and a half by 136.
155 and a half?
Yeah, by 136.7. That's the actual dimensions. So that's why you say we got a side yard, so we got two side yards of 20 feet, we've got 16 feet in between, and then we've got two 50-foot wide structures.
I think it's actually 161. 161 by 155.
Oh, 161, correct.
161 by 155.
161 by 155.
Some of the
The 136 only goes to the radius.
Yeah.
And then it's correct. But obviously, that's the depth of the lot, which is not part of what we're trying to do here.
John is trying to say something. Yeah. Go ahead, John.
I wouldn't mind chiming in. As you guys know, us having throughout the years and the decades, we sporadically have duplexes on 142nd Place, 142nd Avenue, east side of the lake, south side, north side, for no rhyme or reason. So in those instances, I'm like, what kind of planners were on the commission back then, you know? So as I think about this location, I thought that tall building was a bit of maybe an eyesore, if you will. You'd see it from Cedar Lake like you would the water tower, right? But the more I slept on this location, you know, this is a pretty big lot. If there were a couple of multi-family places somewhere, it would definitely be, or, you know, duplex units or whatever, it would definitely be something that is making the area better, as nicely as I can say it. And some gentrification might just occur where the gentrification might occur where the trailer lot stuff is, you know, let's just say it. So from that regard, while I'm not a fan of the multifamily stuff, I do believe that if we were to grant such a thing, this might help to kickstart a different mindset up in the trailer park. And that's pretty much my comments. But as you all know, I'm not a big fan of sporadic, scattered, multifamily, and in this case, it's RT, not multifamily, but that's my opinion on that.
John, let me ask you this, I wasn't here when you guys did the zoning ordinance and the zoning map, but when you did the zoning and the zoning map, was there care taken and good planning put into where RT would go, where a good place for RT was? Was there sections of?
Well, that's a good question.
Sections of the community?
That's a good question, Greg.
The zoning map,
I think as a,
well, the zoning map wasn't really redone per se. It was basically digitized with the old map because we didn't have anything minus a 38-page document that was highlighted.
My understanding was that it just reflected what was
It
in the
reflected
ground.
current zoning.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just from my perspective, that's how you get, that, from what John was saying, sporadic, and who was on the plan commission at that time when these things got approved. That's the reason why you have to have some sort of guideline to go by, so you don't have that again. And if there's RT on the map now, and the zoning ordinance allows for it, well then, that's where it should go. I don't know that we should be twisting the map and the zoning to make things work. That's just my thought. I mean,
I agree with a lot of it, but this specific spot has a lot of different zoning. There's commercial right across from it, and we talked to all the neighbors, I talked to all of them. They want us to do this in order to hopefully revive the area and just like clean up this lot, but also start fixing up stuff. I had everyone sign even saying, like, I brought them everything. I showed all the neighbors, and we're not looking to do this junky. We're looking to do it as nice as possible to help that area.
Yeah, and also doing too, I mean, obviously our interest is gonna be to be able to, collect a decent rent that's commensurate with, the type of structure that we provide. So, and again, I understand that, it's not your commissioner's job to make sure that people make money, but, our intention was from day one, when we purchased the property, based on the hardship that Mr. Yunke fell upon, was that, hey, we could do something here. We were down the street, obviously, with Summerwoods Plaza, and what we did there, and we're like, hey, great, this is something we could do good over in that part of the community, kind of dress that up over there, and actually look into then possibly purchasing the properties across the street that are kind of right now just old barns that are kind of been, repurposed into kind of a quasi-commercial type of thing that's going across the street there, so. We're hoping to be able to do something, in the future on there too.
And in the future, what would you put on that property if you purchased it?
Well,
More income?
I don't know. Like, some of these have lake views, so some of it is what type of people there's people from all over the place that will come to the lake in the summer. So some people may just use it as a secondary home in order to stay and eat and then go boating.
So you wouldn't make it into income?
That would still be income, they're just renting it for themselves.
They have lake views today. We don't know what happens in the future. I didn't have a lake view 3 months ago, and now I have one. So, I mean.
Congratulations.
You don't know what the future holds.
Oh, see? Yeah, go ahead.
Somebody could build something and block the lake view. I mean,
Well,
there's a lot of
this
undeveloped
lot
property
sits
over there.
up super high.
Yeah.
And that's why it did make sense that the two-story, and that's why we're not doing the two-story anymore. That was the goal, was to have a two-story so you could have even more of a view of the lake. So it's just appealing, but it does, because the lot sits up so high, that's why we moved it down to just one story, because, yeah, a two-story.
So what you're telling us right now, with my last question, is that you intend to possibly purchase more property there and get it all rezoned to RT.
No.
That's what you said. And no property. And by giving you this, we're setting a precedence to allow you to go ahead and do that, and we're not trying to get more RT into the town.
John, I've been trying not to say that, but anytime you rezone something, you're setting a precedent for the next person that wants to come in and do what, I mean, there's an argument for it there.
How many variances do you have to get? How many variances do I have to get? The one for the side,
They just resubmitted new plans earlier today that I've not had a chance to review yet, because their new submittal would knock down the initial amount of variances that I saw on the property, like having 2 residential lots on one lot, undersized garages. Right now, what it's looking like is they did at least the front yard setback, and I want to check with Mr. Austin is if they subdivide, will they need to redo the previously granted reduction in side yard and rear yard setback to the 22. So then they need to redo those variances as well.
To give everybody context, dude, the current zoning map, that entire neighborhood is R1 minus one R2 parcel directly to the north, and then it does get into M1, where Cedar Lake Storage is.
So not one RT?
No.
I don't think we should put an RT in there.
I think it's commercial across the street.
Smith and Cedar Lake Storage and the 3 lots that immediately go up against Cedar Lake Storage are M1. You're in Trailer Park. Trailer Park's PD. Those are, this is you.
Night lodging owns the lake
Oh,
shore.
M1. Manufacturer.
got it.
Christine might want to buy the trailer court, and he passed away before.
Trailer Park is a PD.
Yeah, I remember that.
And once you go west across, get tracks, that's also R1. 10 parcel, those parcels are R1.
If other houses, to answer that one, if other houses came for sale in there, it wouldn't be to switch it to RT, it'd be to rehab it and keep it R1 as a single-family home, but to just fix it up. We're not looking to tear down houses and tear down everything, unless it warranted it. There's a couple that are further off.
Yeah, and I mean, but it's, Rich said about, you know, hey, why don't you put a couple of cottage homes on there? And I don't disagree with you, I mean, that would be a viable option. We just don't know what our ability would be to get, you know, the price that we would need to get for the cottage home.
I understand how you fellows are looking at it, and I get it.
Yeah.
But I'm looking at it, there's an awful lot of residential lots in pre-platted subdivisions, and for that matter, there's an awful lot of unsafe structures or potentially unsafe structures or things of that nature that are gonna create vacant residential lots in pre-platted subdivisions. And if the council or the plan commission or the BZA or anyone decides that they wanna take, you know, for really not a good, I mean, we can have these things all over town, I guess, I mean, if I'm speaking out of school, somebody tell me, but that's my concern with, you know, we give you a rezoned RT, and somebody wants to start building duplexes all over town because they see an income opportunity, and, I mean, it can, we're having them all over.
I agree.
The zoning map doesn't mean anything anymore then, you know?
I would be against it in a lot of areas, and that's where it's kind of like, it's tough for me to even say it, because I don't necessarily want them in other parts of Cedar Lake either, but this one just kind of made sense with the neighborhood it's in.
It's hard from a planning perspective, though, to differentiate this from any other situation.
It's along the railroad tracks, and it's set back, and there's a lot of, even the street, like us putting in curbs and sidewalks there, that'll help huge for that area.
Yeah, and the size of the lot, again, I mean, it's a big lot. And that was, again, when you know, we took the action that we did, given the size of the lot, that we felt that, yeah, I mean, hey, there was a way to remedy the situation, actually make it better, turn it from an overgrown, weeded lot with a you know, a slab of concrete sitting there without anything built on it and turn it into something. Turn it into something nice, and of course, turn it into something, from an ownership standpoint for us, that would make sense.
Our goal wasn't to do
That
this
was-
other than because the slab was already there.
Right.
And the situation, to get him paid, to get the guy out, like, there's a lot of reasons. This is not, like, we didn't dream this up.
Yeah, and we're not trying to take advantage of the town or do anything like that, we were just trying to, obviously, make the best case possible out of what was a, unfortunate situation that I just happened to be involved with, so.
I don't have anything else.
One thing on an overgrown weeded lot, the owner's responsibility to maintain it, so that lot should be mowed and maintained during the summer and winter.
We will. We just got it.
I
No, I know.
You're saying,
I know, but
one of
that's,
your arguments is a overgrown weeded lot, and I'm saying that town ordinances and codes state that the owner is responsible for maintaining it, cut and what have you. So I'm just saying, so that.
But that's what it was for years, and that's what even all the neighbors said. So yes, we will.
I'm just telling you.
I agree.
I'm making that comment, that's all. I'm not saying you have to do it or what, that's up to you. I'm just making a comment. I'm not the policing force here, I just help make decisions on, plans and stuff like that, building. I'm not in favor of duplexes, period. And I'm sorry to say I live in one, and since I moved into one, I hate it. I don't like I hate duplexes, but that's the way it goes, for me anyway. I like to see full-size lots. If this is indeed an acre, you can get a full-size. A full-size lot is approximately a quarter acre, am I right?
An acre is 43,560 square feet.
Yeah,
This is a little over half.
This is a little over half. Yeah, so it's about,
One is a little higher, R2 is 10,000
well, 10,000 square feet is our,
for R2,
minimum R2. This is R2, right?
R1.
Oh, R1, okay. All right.
It's a big lot.
I don't know, I'd have to see what all the variances are, or, have to see what.
The only variances I think we had on this was the yard setbacks.
Yeah. I think
Splitting it in two, and then the yard setbacks.
Well,
What was the change, Ashley? What does the new one? We don't even have the new one, right?
You
No,
guys have
I
the
just
correct
got it
one.
today.
Okay,
It
well,
was the
I
same.
understand, you just got it.
They updated a little bit, I need to see it with the two lots on it to see how far the setbacks are for both buildings. Then I would need to calculate the lot coverages
To see what the
to
additional
determine if they're
variances
under
need
the
or
lot
not
coverage
be.
for RT zoning, if they're meeting all setbacks, if they'll need any more variance setbacks.
Are you able to get that together in the next week or so and send it to us
Absolutely.
before the next, I assume you guys are coming to the next meeting?
It's just concept, so they wouldn't be back until March 1st if you
March
guys want
Okay,
them back.
so we have plenty of time.
Mhm.
Okay.
The same exact thing that they had.
this picture of the house that's on this plan, is that what you intend to build?
The garage and the roof height would be taller. So the garages would be wider, so it'll be a standard 10-foot door. If we got that extra foot, what's that?
Great car?
Still
No,
one.
each one car. So it'd be 10-foot
Oh,
wide garage door, and then inside the garage would be 12 foot. And then the roof line would make taller, and the front porch would be a little bit deeper.
Bigger, yeah.
It'll be more appealing with a larger garage and a taller garage.
no. Any other conversation?
I don't see this thing going forward from what I'm hearing from everybody.
Well, all I can say is, if they wanna do some more homework and some more thinking and what have you, then, they're welcome to come back to the next work session in March and present it to us and see what happens from there.
Do you want a better,
I'm kind of inclined to agree with Bob, what Bob just said.
do you want a better visual if we tried to make changes to that or have it drawn up, like professionally, or?
I don't think that's the problem. We've never gone from an R. It's just we've never done it.
Yeah.
I get why you wanna do it, I think your product is nice.
Yeah,
That's, I mean, none of that is the issue here, it's just the change.
From R1 to RT?
Right.
Even given the nature of that dead-end subdivision?
I know,
and where
it's tough, it's tough back there, I know, I get it.
That's why all the neighbors were excited for it.
Sure.
To see something revived, brand new come in. And I'm not trying to do anything bad for the town, trust me. I do think it would be good for, yeah.
Well,
That's kind of where it is.
I wish Mr. Foreman was here or able to talk a little bit more, because his response shocked me, because he's the
Yeah,
big
yeah.
advocate of no.
Oh, yes.
And so when he said that, I'd like to talk to him and see where his head's at with that.
I don't,
Has everybody been to the location?
yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Great.
I'm not anti, I hate to sit here and sound like I'm anti anything, but just use this for example. You get an RT zoning there, what keeps me from deciding that I wanna split my house into and turn it into a duplex? I come down here and I apply for a variance and a rezone, and I get an architect to draw up my current structure and split it into a duplex. Isn't there a precedent set now?
Exhibit A is a picture of that
That's the
property.
concern.
Exhibit A.
That would be my exhibit A as well. You did it here,
But if we had signatures from all the neighbors and that it was a weird,
so what if I got signatures from all my neighbors? It could happen, it could be like a stamp.
not
Doing it all
really,
over.
every single neighbor wanted it.
Yeah,
I'm sure they do want this, it looks 800 times better than what it looks like now. I like the product, I mean, I like the idea, it's just, we're opening ourselves up to a disaster with the rest of the community.
Yeah. I agree, Heather.
Well, you don't need to decide tonight, we've got
No.
some new information today.
Yeah.
She'll come back again in March.
Yeah.
I'd like to see
you do-
that, and I'd like Mr. Foreman to try to contribute a little bit more to the conversation. He's really, I mean, he's literally put together spreadsheets for us of how much multi we have in this community, how much has already been approved from commissions before us, and all these big, what you're seeing as farmland.
And I would agree with that for new development, like, yes, I'm totally, again, I'm on the same page with all of that. And that's why I almost feel like, oh, that's why I wanna do this as top-notch as possible, because I'm on the same page that I'm against the new subdivisions going in and putting those all over the place.
Yeah.
I really am. I hate small lots, I want big lots that, yeah, aren't just maximizing the dollar.
Unfortunately, due to commissions long before us, some very poor
Right.
decisions were made that we're having to clean up disasters at this point. So to now create another potential
disaster.
Right.
issue, it's just hard for us. But like Mr. Austin said, we just got some new information. I would like Mr. Foreman to contribute more or to be here. And then, come back and we'll talk about it again. My position.
Since I've been on this commission, we have not changed any R1s or 2s to RTs. We have gone the opposite way, and changed RTs to R2s or to PUDs and that,
and if Foreman doesn't make it back from Florida by the next meeting, I think we should have our next meeting in Florida.
Oh, there's an idea. He needs to fly us there too.
I want new sheriff first.
New sheriff. Start slow. Yeah.
Well, you heard our comments, we're not gonna make a decision.
Sounds good,
tonight. So take it all over it, but we'll do the same and then, come back at the work session in March.
I would say, it's not the product, I don't want you guys to sink money into plans and a whole bunch of stuff at this point, it's just simply the change that we're having a little hard time with, so.
Thanks, everyone.
Just so you have an idea, February 24th by noon, have any new plans to me to get to them.
Got it.
Okay, update items. Building regulations and fee amendment, get close.
We are.
You got it.
No, not quite, but we're close. So I expect in 2 weeks to have you and staff
Okay.
in ordinance.
An ordinance, okay.
In ordinance.
Same thing with moratorium?
For 1 and 2?
For 1 and 2.
Okay.
That one's gonna, number 2 is gonna probably take a little bit longer, maybe a month.
I'd like to say I'm excited about that, this, number 1 and number 2. Like, I'm excited about number 1 and number 2. I can tell you guys have been working like super hard on it. I know there's a lot of, like you said, moving parts to it.
Well, we have, and
A lot of large projects going on.
And there's other stuff too,
in
yeah.
complete candor, we got delayed a bit in the work effort before that, but it's at full speed again.
Well, I'm sure you're doing it the right way and that's how it needs to be done, so.
Even if 2 has to be a month, that would be probably okay. 2's kind of important too.
Keeping Ashley busy and my staff busy, so.
Yeah, I'd like to give Ashley a little round of applause because she's doing an amazing job.
Just a little?
I mean, like, if you know, it seems like the most organized I feel like we've had in a long time.
Absolutely.
She changed her career.
I know, I want to give her a hug a lot, so.
We can prevent that, John.
We appreciate you, Ashley, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Ashley.
Dave, I got a question on that last item, something just kind of, I kept hearing the word hardship.
On the item that just left,
Yeah. Is it a hardship if somebody starts building something and can't finish it? Is that, I mean, would that
No.
pass for a BZA definition of a hardship?
Financial considerations are not a hardship for BZA.
and the income generating discussion that was had is absolutely not a relevant factor.
Yes, I would agree with that.
It's part of the advocacy for sure, but it's not relevant to any decision you make.
Unfortunately, that normally just makes us all a little bit more aggravated than helpful. It doesn't help us at all. Like, your income doesn't matter to me, the town, the people of the town. And frankly, there's a lot of things in this town that look a lot worse than a slab of concrete. So.
Sure, oh, yeah, yeah.
We're working on it, but like the slab of concrete isn't high up on the priority of
Yeah.
things that we would need to make exceptions for to
So
make
once
our
they
town
cut all
better.
those weeds out, maintain that property.
Maybe we should pop some chairs on there, a little umbrella, and have some picnics or something. Maybe we can make it a park.
I can think of a half a dozen people in my head right now that, if that precedent was set, they'd be in here trying to take advantage of his capacity.
Oh, 100%.
Actually, he's one of them. The guy that just left.
Yes, you're right, Craig.
To give you a little bit, just a little bit extra on the hardship part, the third finding of fact for any development variance, it's got to be a condition peculiar to that property that prevents you from being able to follow the zoning ordinance. So topography, there's your weird shaped lots.
Once you start asking for variances, you pretty much tossed your hardship clause out.
Well, they're asking for a zone change. It's even worse than a variance, and they need to meet the statutory criteria under section 603. And that's their burden. And if they can't meet that burden, any one of the 5, they fail.
On the other hand, I can think of a dozen pre-platted subdivisions in town where anything that anybody tries to do, they're gonna need a variance, and just about all of them are hardships.
Those are the definition of hardship. Go up in Bob's ward and back there on 129th and, Fairbanks and those places, and, the ups and downs of the terrain, where the houses are located. And, that's Old Cedar Lake, and it's perfectly fine, but it is the division of hardship. If people come in and they're upgrading and rehabbing and.
That's what I think of when I think of, a BZA hardship, and, I mean, if you got a 75 by 100 lot and your house is 1,300 square feet, and anything you wanna do, you're gonna need a variance for it.
And there was consideration to take 128th Lane off of Hilltop and take it up, and there was discussion made that that would make it just as bad as 129th is.
It used to go through.
Well, we had considered, making that a road going up there, and we decided not to because we didn't wanna have all the problems we have on 129th, especially with people backing out of those drives.
Okay,
It's a good hill to have a race on.
I'm getting angry.
number 3, Beacon Point East, Unit 1, performance letter of credit expires May 4th, 2023.
We can address all of these,
Okay.
3, 4, and 5.
Okay.
We'll be talking to developers to see where they're going. Beacon Point East, 1 is probably gonna go quicker than Unit 5. Unit 5 still hasn't paid the final asphalt. And then Hanover Community, is that high school or middle school's letter of credit? Either way, they're both still working. I'm betting that's middle schools.
I'm thinking that's middle as well.
I don't even know if we have one for the high school.
I
It's
don't
all
think so.
private.
I think just
So-
middle.
I know they're still having water issues out there, so that one's probably gonna be rotated, or kept in performance.
Well, those are all May, I mean, we're
Yeah.
pretty far off.
We got
Yeah,
We got
something to think about.
Yep.
I appreciate it on here though.
Okay, any public comment?
I do have a comment. I will be circulating an email to the board, as well as the BZA and the town council. We are going to be holding a joint plan commission BZA training session hosted by Mr. Austin. So I will be sending out an email for you all to let me know that you can make that date. That way I can let Mr. Austin know how much material to have. It will be February 16th at 6:30 p.m.
Is
What
there a
day is
meeting
that?
date?
It's Thursday.
Thursday.
It's the
Right.
Thursday after our public meeting.
Hey, I got a business lunch that day, that might be a tough meeting for me.
It might be.
It's a business lunch.
The golf course is closed.
You're
assuming you're invited, John.
Says that Giovanni's.
Oh.
Okay, anything else?
You said Thursday's the 16th.
Correct.
Okay, got it. I don't know why I thought you said 15th.
That's our public
Next
meeting and
meeting in
our
Florida?
unsafe meeting.
Are
Okay,
you,
gotcha.
are you booking our flights, or do we have to book our own?
I mean, do we want to go to Foreman though?
It'll be here,
We might
sorry.
miss him. He might be in transit back here.
Let him come back here and then we'll go.
Go, yeah.
Well, we'd all have to be living right for that to happen.
We can all get on Zoom with the honking horns in the background.
Oh, the Hilltop, I've never been to Hilltop.
Oh, that sounds nice.
Is it gonna be warm out there? You never know.
Who cares, John?
Well, I guess you're right.
Anything else? Nothing else, we're adjourned.
Maybe in a pub called the golf course,
Yeah.
but not the golf course.